Hi friends, welcome back to the channel Learning Literature Online. Today we are back with another video on a poem from Indian English literature. The poem is The House of My Childhood by Dilip Chitre, that is Dilip Chitre. The poem is also prescribed for first semester UG students under University of Calicut. The poem The House of My Childhood is an autobiographical poem, and it is also nostalgic in nature as it is autobiographical. The poem is set in the background of the poet's ancestral home, where the speaker spent his childhood days, and he is trying to remember the past memories imprinted in his mind. The poet Dilip Chitre was born in 1938 and he was died in 2009. He is one of the foremost Indian poets and critic of post-independence India. He is a bilingual writer, that is, he had written both in Marathi and English, and he was also a painter, translator, fiction writer and filmmaker. He published his first collection of poems in 1960. His collected poems were published in the 1990s in 3 volumes, and he had edited an anthology of Marathi poetry, and his most famous translation is of the celebrated 19th century Marathi Bhakti poet Tukaram. He had started his professional film career. See, there is a spelling error in film, and he had started his professional film career in 1969 and has since made 1 feature film and about a dozen documentary films and several short films in cinema format and about 20 video documentary features, and he had written scripts for most of his films, as well as he had directed or co-directed them. He had widely travelled in Asia, Africa, Europe and North America and interiors of India. He had been one of the visiting faculty of many universities and institutions and a consultant to projects. He was the honorary president of Satima Cultural Association, of which he was also a founder trustee. He was the honorary president of Satima Cultural Association, of which he was also a founder trustee. After a long bout with cancer, bout means fight with cancer, Dilip Chitre died in Pune on 10th December 2009. Almost all his poems are autobiographical in nature, and they convey variety of moods ranging from lyrical and meditative to the incantatory. See, his poems will be something lyrical and sometimes meditative and sometimes incantatory. and his poems reflects a continuous crisis of inner life. And in his poems, he had created a large, intense world from his emotions, especially his obsession with life, madness, and death. And his poetry has a distinct style and uses simplistic words. And his writings are sparse, at the same time, his imagery is immense. So, these are the introduction on the poem and the poet, and we are going to the poem The House of My Childhood. The House of My Childhood. The poet is revisiting the ancestral home where he had spent his childhood days. അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ ബാല്യകാലങ്ങൾ ചിലവഴിച്ചിരുന്ന തറവാട്ട് വീട്ടിലേക്ക് ഓർമ്മകളിലൂടെ ഒരു തിരിഞ്ഞു നടക്കുകയാണ് the poet Dilip Chitre. The house of my childhood stood empty on a grey hill. The house of my childhood stood empty on a grey hill. The house is now empty and it is on a grey hill. See, once the house will be very lively and so many people were there, and such a house now is standing empty. എൻ്റെ ബാല്യകാലത്തുണ്ടായിരുന്ന ആ വീട് ഇപ്പോൾ ശൂന്യമാണ്. On a grey hill. Hill actually will not be grey, it will be green. Here the poet implies that the life in the house, the ancestral home, is now extinct and it is on the verge of decay. നാശത്തിൻ്റെ വക്കിലാണ് ആ വീട്. ഇപ്പോൾ ആകെ ശൂന്യമാണ്. ആളുകളില്ലാത്ത ഒരു വീട് പതിയെ പതിയെ നാശത്തിലേക്കായിരിക്കും പോവുക. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ അതിൻ്റെ ചുറ്റുവട്ടത്തുമുള്ള അത് നിലനിന്നിരുന്ന ആ ഹില്ല് ഇപ്പോൾ ഗ്രേ ആയിട്ട് മാറിയിട്ടുണ്ട്. ഇറ്റ്സ് കളർ ഹാസ് ചേഞ്ച്ഡ്. Actually, hill will be green. However, now it is grey. And another thing is that all its furniture gone. All its furniture gone. Sometimes it may be destroyed. Sometimes it may be looted or exploited. Whatever it is, all its furniture gone. അതിൻ്റെ എല്ലാ ഫേർണിച്ചറും പോയിട്ടുണ്ട്. Sometimes it may be destroyed or sometimes it may be exploited by someone else, except my grandmother's grindstone. ഇപ്പോൾ അവിടെ ബാക്കിയായി നിൽക്കുന്നത് ഗ്രാൻഡ്മദറിൻ്റെ ഗ്രൈൻഡ്സ്റ്റോൺ മാത്രമാണ്. and the brass figurines of her gods. Now remaining in the ancestral home is that only grindstone and brass figurines of her gods. One of the peculiarity of this grindstone is now it is not in use. Those grindstones that were prevalent in those days were not in use at present, and brass figurines of her gods, the value of gods has lost in today's life. ഗ്രാൻഡ്മദറിന് ഒരുപാട് ദൈവങ്ങളുണ്ടായിരുന്നു, പക്ഷേ ആ ബ്രാസ് ഫിഗറിൻസ് മാത്രമാണ് ഇന്ന് ഒന്നും നശിപ്പിക്കപ്പെടാതെ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ മറ്റുള്ള ആളുകളുടെ പെരുമാറ്റം മൂലം അതിൻ്റെ വാല്യൂ നഷ്ടപ്പെടാതെ എന്നും അവിടെ ശേഷിക്കുന്നത് ആ ബ്രാസ് ഫിഗറിൻസ് ഓഫ് ഹെർ ഗോഡ്സ്. ഓൺലി ഹെർ ഗോഡ്സ് ആൻഡ് grindstone are remaining there. Okay. After the death of all birds, bird cries still fill the mind. What changes had happened to the nature, to the ecosystem, to the surroundings of this ancestral home is highly thought-provoking. After the death of all birds, poet says that, or the speaker says that all birds have died. Still, the poet keeps in his mind the bird's cries. So he is saying that after the death of all birds cries still fill the mind. ഒരുപാട് പക്ഷികളൊക്കെ ചത്തൊടുങ്ങിപ്പോയിട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിലും ഇപ്പോഴും അതിൻ്റെ കരച്ചിൽ അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ മനസ്സിൽ ഇങ്ങനെ തളം കെട്ടി നിൽക്കുന്നുണ്ട്. After the death of all bird cries still fill the mind. See, the modernization or greedy, selfish onslaught of human being on nature and the ecosystem had resulted in the death of all birds, though the poet still cherishes in his mind the bird cries. So, the bird cries still fill the mind of the speaker. After the city's erasure, though city life had erased all the picture that is related with this house or this ancestral home. അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ നഗരത്തിലുള്ള ഒരുപാട് വർഷത്തെ ജീവിതം മൂലം അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ ഈ തറവാട് വീടുമായിട്ടുള്ള ഒരുപാട് പിക്ചറൊക്കെ മായ്ക്കപ്പെട്ടു പോയിട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിലും a blur still peoples the air. A blur image can be seen there in the air. A blur still peoples the air. In the colorless crack that comes before morning. Through the crack of this house, light is coming. That is colorless. See, the image is somewhat blur image, and in the colorless crack that comes before the morning, a light is coming from the horizon. As the light is coming, so in the colorless cracks that comes before the morning, in a place where nobody can sing, he is alone there in this ancestral home. അദ്ദേഹം തനിച്ചാണ് അവിടെ, വേറെ ആരും ഇതാക്കാനില്ല, പാടാനോ പറയാനോ ആരുമില്ലാത്ത ഒരു വീട്ടിൽ. The colorless crack that comes before morning, words distribute their silence. See, in the every nook and corner of this house, words are there still, and these words distribute their silence among the intricately clustered glyphs. Glyphs means photographs. Among intricately clustered glyphs, words distribute their silence. My grandmother's voice shivers on a bare branch. He is going across the house, across the ancestral home. So he is listening his grandmother's voice that shivers on a bare branch of this house. ഒരു വളരെ bare, see, naked branch of this house comes what? Grandmother's voice. I toddle around the empty house. He is going back through his memory, and he is toddling. Toddling means the walking style of child. I toddle around the empty house. He is becoming now again a child. Spring and summer are both gone. Spring and summer are the symbols and images of what? A season where life will be pleasant and nature will be pleasant, whatever it is. Anyway, as the house is empty and no people is there and no one is there, and nature is on the verge of decay, so spring and summer are both gone, leaving an elderly infant to explore the rooms of age. Spring and summer are both gone. വസന്തവും സമ്മർ സീസണൊക്കെ എന്താക്കിയിട്ടുണ്ട്? പോയിട്ടുണ്ട്. leaving an elderly infant. Now they had left whom? An elderly infant. The elderly infant എന്നുള്ളത് ഒരു poetic figure of speech, oxymoron. He is an elderly man, but actually when he is going back to his childhood, he is now an infant, leaving an elderly infant to explore the rooms of age. എല്ലാ വസന്തവും സമ്മർ സീസണും ഒക്കെ എന്താക്കിയിട്ടുണ്ട്, കടന്നു പോയിട്ടുണ്ട്. ആ വീട്ടിലുണ്ടായിരുന്ന വസന്തവും സമ്മർ സീസണൊക്കെ കടന്നു പോയിട്ടുണ്ട്. Now there is an elderly infant, that is the speaker itself, to explore the rooms of age. That is the poem. The themes of the poem are nostalgia and old versus modern. In the old house, there were brass figurines of gods and wood, grandmother's grindstone. These were valuable things, but now it is being avoided by this modern man as useless, because this god or grindstone has no value in their life, spiritual or religious. An emptiness of this house and even passage of time. Figures of speech discussed in the poem are: one, alliteration. Alliteration is repetition of consonant sounds. Here in the poem, the example of alliteration is the usage careless crack. And one, oxymoron, that is example for oxymoron is elderly infant. Oxymoron is two opposite words joined together, combining of two opposite words. Then imagery. Several images are there. Image of a child exploring rooms of age. Image of color, light coming in the early morning. Okay, these are the imagery discussed to intensify the value of what the theme of nostalgia or homesickness. Okay, thank you.